If you can say hello, Mutesi, and greet everyone that is joining us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mutesi Adija. I'm the Global Students Forum representative, youth representative at ECW on the high-level steering group. I'm a student, and I'm glad that all of you have created time to join this meeting.
Thanks a lot, Mutesi. And yes, so we have a very interesting agenda for today. And the first point is that we have with us, that has agreed to join us, our very engaged and passionate Executive Director of Education Cannot Wait, Yasmin Sharif. So we're going to go straight away with her giving some opening words and welcoming all of us, and then we'll jump into the agenda. So Yasmin, the floor is yours. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Hector and Mutesi, and thank all of the youth who are with us and my colleagues in Advocacy and Communications team. First of all, I hope you can hear me. Can you? Great. Well, let me first of all congratulate once more Hector and Mutesi for being part of the Education Cannot Wait's governance structure. And this is just the beginning. But we are the only organization, I think, that actually have the youth with us. And I hope to see more youth because I believe in the youth. And I'll tell you why. But let me first say who I am. So I'm the Executive Director of Education Cannot Wait, which is the global fund for education in emergencies and protracted crises in situations of. These are the children, the 226 million today, I think, 24, 26. You know, they're going up by the billions, by the month, millions, who are affected by armed conflicts, brutal conflicts, even constituting plausible genocides, according to International Court of Justice, forced to flee as internally displaced or refugees across an international border or through climate-induced disasters. So it's really us focusing on those left furthest behind, those who have lost everything already. And the last hope is to get an education. And I know what that means because for me and my life, I knew education was going to take me forward in life. Without my education, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. I would not have worked for over 30 years with the UN. And I can tell you, I have worked in most of these countries over the past 30 years, in Sudan, in the Balkans, well before you were born. I was myself very young back then, in Cambodia, across the sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East. And I spend a lot of time with human beings, young people, children who have lost their parents, who have lost their siblings, their homes, dispossessed. And on top of it, the last hope to get an education. And not just any education, but an education that will help them develop all their potentials. And confirm your language. What is this? There are too many questions here. I'm speaking English. And whose only hope is an education, but not any education. We know, for instance, that school-age children in sub-Saharan Africa, only 1 out of 10 can actually read a text. So that's no education. An education where you are taught to obey authority and not have critical thinking, or are not is not conducive to your desire to speak up for human rights and justice. It's not a good education. An education is meant to bring the potential out of a child for the entire development, to speak truth to power, to have critical thinking.
Recording in progress.
To feel empathy for other human beings, for humanity, and to be constructive, creative, and innovative, to take calculated risks. And then, of course, the academic side, to have a school meal, and for those who have left even further behind because of a disability, to still have access to an education and be able to learn and perhaps also learn other abilities. I have met children who are disabled with no limbs, but who have become extraordinary painters with their mouth. Children who are, or adolescents who belong to the LGBTQ community, who don't dare to recognize their identity, fear of being punished or ostracized. I mean, there are so many children and adults, young adults out there, adolescents and youth, who have been hampered in achieving their potentials simply because they live in the wrong country, born in the wrong society. But worse is for those who have to live through bombardment, militia, terrorists, terror states, oppression, tyranny, and violence that is unbearable for a young soul. So that's why we are here. And I personally, and this is what I've devoted most of my life to, and will continue to do for as long as I live, is to speak up for them. And not only speak up, but to advocate for more funding, more resources, because it costs money to deliver education. You know, when you go to Europe, OECD DAC, they have about, I think it's about $10,000 a year for a child. And then you go to Sub-Saharan Africa or Middle East or refugees and migrants in Latin America. And we're moving around with $100, $150 a year. Talk about injustices. Talk about social and economic inequity. Now, the good thing with the youth, with what we call the X generation, the Generation Z generation, or the youth who were born a little bit later than I was, you still have a chance to be the bearer of the fire of freedom and justice. You still haven't been programmed to be quiet and sit there and be good, but actually speak up. And that's why I believe in the youth. I truly believe it's the youth that's going to change this world. We have failed the world in so many ways. And then we have nearly 250 million children and adolescents who don't go to school today. The majority of them in the global south. Something has gone wrong in this world. And that's why we need the purity of heart, the clarity of judgment, and the power of your voice as young, who are fearless, afraid. And if you need inspiration, you'll get it. That education cannot wait. But you also inspire us. So we count on you. We count on you to be strong, to be fearless. Remember, when you speak up for the right to education, whether you sit in our executive committee or you sit in our high-level steering group, don't try to conform to be another bureaucrat or another diplomat. You got to be yourself, because your voice is what's lacking in this world. You speak with respect. You speak with truth and honesty, but you need to speak truth to power. I don't want to see you coming to our governance boards with a pre-prepared statement. No. You need to use your emotions, your heart, to inspire change. You say, this is what it's like to be a child or a young person in a continent and a country who do not access a quality education, a child-centered education with all that it entails. We need you to listen and take responsibility. We need you to be leaders for humanity, all of humanity, to make sure that every child, including children in conflicts and climate disasters or in refuge, that they can go to school. So I need you to be authentic, honest, strong, trust your intuition, trust your instincts. Doesn't mean not to be, disruptive. But it's okay to be a bit of a rebel. It's okay. Be a rebel. but be a good, constructive rebel. So that's a little bit about my background. When I was young, when I was in your age, I was a rebel. And I don't think that rebellion has left me ever. But I think it's very important that when you're a rebel, you be a rebel with a cause. And your cause is to make sure that all young children and adolescents get a right to a quality education, even though they are caught in armed conflict or they're fleeing as refugees or they are affected by natural disasters. We need you for that. Be rebels with the cause. Now, Hector, he's a human rights guy, so I relate to that. I'm a human rights lawyer. And Mutesi, she is into journalism and advocacy, so my entire team and also myself relate to that. I think journalists are some of the most important messengers on earth. And advocacy, when Hector and Mutesi come together to represent all of you, we have a very powerful combination of journalism, advocacy, and human rights. That's the most powerful tool we have. And for ECW, we have been very successful. I will let my colleagues talk about this on Afghan girls' voices to stand up for all the millions of girls in Afghanistan who are locked up at home today, unable to go beyond grade 6. Okay? The Afghan girls are strong girls. They're strong. I used to live and work in Afghanistan. I know them. They're strong. Most children and adolescents who have suffered injustice are strong, actually. They're actually stronger than those who have not. You know, I go to the northern part of the globe and they say, oh, I don't need an education. I don't want an education. Oh, it's boring. You go to the southern hemisphere, everyone says, I want an education. I want to change the world. So reflect, why is it? And I think being in the comfort zone is not always healthy. Huh? So we've been very strong with the Afghan girls' voices. Postcards from the Edge is another success story of ours, where children and young people are speaking to their dreams. I want to be a doctor, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a nurse, I want to work for an NGO, I want to be a journalist, I want to be a lawyer, you name it. That has been another big one. Our 222 Million Dreams campaign, Kent and my team will speak to you about that. Very successful. I actually heard this morning from Kent that we've reached 1.6 billion people. 1.6 billion people have read the messages coming from Education Cannot Wait. And then we have Hear Their Voices on Gaza. And I don't think there is a single one of you, and very few people in this world today, who find it bearable. It's absolutely unbearable to watch what is happening. And it is really, in my lifetime, and I worked in many wars and conflicts, it's the worst I've ever seen. I'm heartbroken every day. And I see these children carrying around their flesh, human flesh of their brothers and sisters in a little bag, trying to keep their family together. It's so unimaginable. So we need you to think out of the box. We need you to be strong. Don't try to fit in. Don't try to be a good bureaucrat. Try to be a rebel with a cause, respectful, strong, fearless, hold on to the UN Charter, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and remember all those children and adolescents out there who need you, the youth. And I will end here because I have to go to another meeting. But I want you to be strong. And I can tell you, you can reach out to me, to Kent and his team, with whom you will spend the coming hour anytime. Our doors, our emails are open to you. We are not a bunch of bureaucrats behind a desk. We are advocates, we are doers, we take action, and we believe that the youth are the ones that will change the world. We need you more than ever. So thank you, Hector and Mutesi. for organizing this with my team. Thank you, all the youth. There are 37 of you who are part of this. And from one heart to your hearts, we're going to make it happen. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Yasmin. Yes, thanks. It's never not an inspiring meeting when you open an event or one of our meetings at the XCOM.
Hector, can I come in just real quick? I see that we have 70 people online. Maybe we can do a quick photo now before we lose everyone. We ask if you're able to, please turn on your cameras, smile for, let's say, 15 seconds. We'll take photos and then we'll be able to share this first meeting far and wide. Yeah, please turn on your cameras.
Okay, everyone, in the count of 3, big smiles for the youth power of ECW.
Should we do this?
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow, there are 40 people now. I'm leaving you guys. But I tell you, and I recognize many of you.
70. We have 70.
Yeah. I've seen you on Twitter. I've seen you at the high-level steering financing group. I see your names. Oh, my gosh, I feel like I know you all already. I hand over to my colleagues. Let's see. I would just throw one idea. If we can convene an in-person gathering at one point where we can all meet, okay? And we make a commitment that education cannot wait to support you. We are here to give you the platform and the space to speak truth to power in this world for the 224 million children and the many more that are growing that needs you to get a proper and inclusive and a continued education. Let's change the world. Love you all. Bye.
Thanks a lot, Yasmin. And we'll follow up on that idea then. So very quickly, I'll go through what's today's agenda. So we have the introduction. Now we're going to very quickly go with Kent, who's going to give us some more information about Education Cannot Wait. Then we are lucky to have 4 of our member organizations that will very briefly present about their work on the ground and what they're doing for educational crisis in emergencies and protracted crises. And then Mutesi and I will very briefly talk a little bit more about our role currently in ECW before we go then to a discussion and a brainstorming that we want to do with you to find some follow-up points. We don't want this meeting to be a one-time thing where we came here, you listen to us. No, this is the start of our collaboration and actual activities that we want to take forward. So Kent, the floor is yours. You can take over.
Beautiful. Thank you, Hector. I just want to start out by saying a big thanks to Hector, to Mutesi, to Jacob, and to Yelena for setting up this webinar. It's the first one we've had, and it won't be the last one. So that's great. I'll try and be as quick as possible because we want to hear from you. But just a little bit about Education Cannot Wait. We're the global fund for education emergencies and protracted crises within the United Nations. We're working in around 46 different crises-affected countries where children are not able to access quality education because of armed conflict, forced displacement, climate disasters, and other global pandemics, but other protracted crises. And we reach those children who are left furthest behind. And among those, and there are others, are refugee children, internally displaced children, children with disabilities, and we have to say girls because girls are disproportionately affected when there's a crisis. When it comes to education, they're the first ones to lose their access to education for a variety of reasons. A few years ago, the world thought there were 75 million children who didn't have access to education in emergencies. And just about a year and a half ago, we did a study, an updated study with UNICEF and a variety of other UN and civil society organizations to see what is the number now. And that number a year and a half ago was 222 million. So almost a tripling of children who don't have access to education in emergencies. And that was last year, and now the number's at 224 million. And with Gaza, we can be sure it's 225 million. We hope it doesn't go higher, but you can see that the trend, regretfully, is upwards. And all these children who are out of school are at higher risk of sexual abuse, being recruited into armed groups, being forced into child labor, child marriage, and gender-based violence. And all this education can help prevent, help stop, and keep these children safe, which is what we want to do. I'll move. I just wanted to say that I was writing down quickly the different countries that are represented here. And we've got what I saw: Nigeria, Tanzania, Ghana, Kenya, South Sudan, Sierra Leone, Rwanda, Gambia, GCE, which is based in the US, Canada, DR Congo, and Germany, Uganda, and Somalia. I've been with the UN for 28 years now. I started my career in Rwanda, and I'm happy to tell you that I've been to every single one of the countries that I've just named, with the two exceptions being Somalia. I haven't yet got to Somalia, and I hope to get there. And for some reason, I haven't been to Uganda, but I've been to every other country that's represented in my work with the United Nations, and it's great to have you here. Let's go to the slide with our channels. So very briefly, these are the different social media channels, websites, etc., that you can reach us on. Really encourage you to follow us on @EduCannotWait on Twitter. If you do nothing else, that'll be super, and we'll follow you back. We have 3 main accounts: @EduCannotWait, @KentPage, that's my own account, and it's 100% about ECW and education emergency issues, and @Yasmin Sharif. There's a list of some of the main hashtags we use, although we use many more. And we've got a lot of campaigns, global advocacy campaigns, that we'd love your support in. And I'll just touch on those very briefly here. The first one is Afghan Girls' Voices. We're now on day 930 that girls in Afghanistan are not allowed to go to school. Afghanistan is the only country that absolutely denies all girls access to school after grade 6. So we're on day 930. This Afghan Girls' Voices campaign, very important. We've reached 136 million individuals around the world with this campaign, and we're refreshing it, rebooting it, because day 1000 is coming up in just 70 days, in 2 months, basically. Love your support on that. Next one, right here, right now. This is our climate education, climate crisis, education crisis focus campaign. And we're hoping to raise $150 million for that. We launched it at COP28 in Dubai, which was in December. So all the people, and I saw a few, are climate education crises focused people. Please support that one. Our 222 million dreams, that's our overall flagship campaign. And just overnight, we have reached now 1.6 billion people, 1.6 billion individuals around the world with that campaign, which is, again, our overarching campaign for everything. And Postcards from the Edge is another great campaign that we have, where we've invited young people who are affected by crises to talk about their dreams, what it is they would like to do, and they've basically shared with us their testimonies of how having education in a crisis positively impacts them, or how not having education in a crisis negatively impacts them. So that's another terrific campaign. And we and the team are working on a new one that we don't have out yet, but it's going to be called Share Their Voices. And it's going to be amplifying the voices of children in emergencies and protracted crises who are either now accessing education because of ECW or still do not have education. And when we launch that, it's going to be big. It's going to be important. So I'll just say 3 last things. Love it if you can follow us on Twitter. That's number 1. 2, please retweet and share information. As possible, we would love to invite you to get our free monthly newsletter by somehow we collect or share your email addresses, and that'll come to you free once a month. So you can be updated on us, on ECW's work. Last thing, I just put it out there. We really enjoy being on podcasts to help get the word out. So if any of you are running podcasts or know of podcasts that might be relevant, please share them with us, and we'll take advantage of that. And you don't want to hear from Yasmin or I anymore. We want to hear from you. So I hand it over to Hector and Mutezi, and we're going to listen to you. And I really, really thank you all for being here. We had about 70 people on board right now. I think we're at 65 right now. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Tim. And I hope this was interesting for everyone in our call. Like we mentioned, it's just a brief introduction. You'll get more information. This is just the starting point, but now we are, and also there's some content being shared in the chat on how to follow the accounts. And there's a 2-pager where you'll find all this information that was just shared with you. But now we're going to have 4 brief presentations from organizations that are already part of the student and youth-led subgroup. And after their presentations, we're going to go straight into an activity where you will get to help us brainstorm some ideas. So just because we need to unmute you if you are doing a presentation. So please raise your hand because there's a lot of people right now, so it's hard to find you in the names list. But Commonwealth Children and Youth Disability Network. If you are present right now, Sian, if you raise your hand, we can unmute you. I don't see Sian right now with us, but we have at least Ifeanyi from Raymadegroup. So we're going to start with you, Ifeanyi. So if you can take the floor and please 4 minutes. Who are you? What's your organization? What are you guys working with? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Hector. And so lovely to see Yasmin again, and Ken, and everyone I saw in Switzerland the last time I was there. I'm really, really honored to be here once again with you guys. So my name is Ofodu Raymond. I'm a youth advocate and social justice advocate. I work with the Minister of Women Affairs currently, and I also run my group, Raymadegroup, which is a refugee-focused group that is ensuring that children at the vulnerable level have access to education. So my journey has always been there for refugee children and displaced people in Nigeria. Before I represented Nigeria in Geneva for the high level at the high level conference where we raised some funds for children in refugee settings. I must tell you, after that high level conference, my journey and my influence changed. I rebranded how I operated. I moved to the high level area. First of all, when I came back to Nigeria, I had to do a thorough mapping of what these refugee children actually need. What are the actual needs and what are the problems that they're facing at the grassroots level? I collected this data, then I had to find my way into the government. Like currently, I advocated for school feeding program for children in refugee settings. And I must tell you, I am working with the Senior Special Assistant to the President on school feeding program, where we are designing a program to ensure that IDP children and children in refugee settings are taught. And also being in the Office of the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, we are designing a plan to ensure that the children working at the refugee settings are covered and they are properly integrated because sometimes I discovered that these children, even if we give them access to education, they still don't believe that they belong into the society. They still have this vacuum in their hearts that, mentally they are being left out and they can't associate with their peers. So we're even looking at working on a model where we can integrate these children back to real schools, real educational systems in the community where they are residing. So we are really working so hard. And even the last time Yasmin visited Nigeria, although I wasn't able to see the team, but I had to meet the chair in the Ministry of Education through the minister, who I also have contact with. And I discussed with them. I told them that we have to take things differently. It's not business as usual. Children are dying, children are suffering. And even when I was in Geneva, I had to let the powerful people know that we are not playing. We need all hands on deck. And I'm so happy to see amazing youth right here, because all we can do is keep voicing out. Like Yasmin said, we might not have the funding, but we have the voice. We have the social media. So how well do we use it? And I must tell you, I have been fighting and putting my best to ensure that we have every single voice of the vulnerable children heard. So apart from the school feeding program, I'm also championing child protection in refugee settings, where we are looking at establishing whistleblowers across the IDP areas to be able to inform us if any child is abused, and we can act immediately. And we are also working around access to justice, which is a major thing the minister is working around, which is called the mobile court. We want to get the mobile court where we can be able to use the mobile court to checkmate the children's welfare in this refugee setting as they are receiving the education. We want to also make sure that they are being protected. So this, because of time, is some of the things that I'm doing, and Raymadegroup is always out there to work, and we believe that together we can. So thank you very much, Hector, and let me give the floor to others. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ifeanyi. And now we're going to move forward. I've seen that we have Obed Ombuna from the Jesuit Refugee Service. If you're ready, Obed, I can just go ahead and unmute you, and you can take the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Hector. My name is Obed Ombuna, working for Jesuit Refugee Service, and a member of a student subgroup known as Youth Council for Education in Emergencies, comprising of about 20 students, some of them who are now working like me. And what I want to present briefly is a presentation on what we are doing with displaced children and youth in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya. And allow me to share the screen, please, briefly. Hector, if you can allow me to share my screen.
I think you should be able to share now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the host disabled participants from sharing the screen. But
if you can take it, just
okay.
So, presentation, we'll pay attention and listen to you. Yeah.
Thank you. So what I'm presenting is what we do at Jesuit Refugee Service, working in 58 countries, but the case I'm presenting is for Kenya, Kakuma Refugee Camp. And in Kakuma Refugee Camp, we have only 34% of the girls who are supposed to be in school are in school. Sometimes last year, we conducted a gender responsive education analysis, and that revealed that only 34% of the girls are in secondary school. And so the barriers include the demand side barriers, having school fees as the leading barrier affecting girls from accessing education. And then the environment in which they learn in. Kakuma is a very hot area, so extreme weather as a barrier around enabling environment. Then once they are in school, we have the supply side barrier, and these include a lack of learning materials and the school facilities. So what are we doing to address the barriers? We are working on a project we call the EGOS project, and EGOS is initials, which means Empowering African Girls to Learn and Excel in Schools in Kakuma. And what we are doing in this project, we are focusing on increasing enrollment of the girls from at least 34 to 36% in 3 years, improve the learning outcomes, and also improve their safety and well-being. And we do this by providing 1,129 vulnerable girls with a scholarship. We are also working on strengthening teacher professional development, especially around the gender-responsive teaching, gender-responsive methodology. And then we are also working on improving the learning environment, constructing a climate-resilient classroom, as well as science laboratories, and then also working on mentorship program to enable girls gain confidence. So the main challenge around this is financing secondary education is a major challenge. You realize that not many donors are attracted to secondary education. For example, in Kakuma, in primary school, we have 27 primary schools, but when we go to secondary schools, we have only 7 secondary schools. And so we are working towards enhancing or improving access to secondary education for girls displaced from about 6 countries in living in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya. Hector, thank you. Because of the limited time, that's the much I can share. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Obed. And I see that there was a comment on in the chat about learning more about the climate resilient classroom. So we will definitely have more time to learn more about the different projects and everything that all the members are doing. But then we'll move forward. We also had Victor from Muvistar SaveLife Youth Foundation. Are you online? Can you raise your hand so we unmute you? Let's see. I see one Victor. I'll give it a try. If that's you, Victor from Muvistar, then you can take the floor. Or is that another Victor? You're unmuted now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Hector. And hello to everyone. I'm Victor from Muvistar SaveLife Youth Foundation, Uganda. And I'm the director and I'm the founder. Just briefly, by background, I founded this organization in 2018 after realizing what youth are going through in Uganda. Because I myself, I was, during my childhood, I was raised by a single mother, and I really know how hard it was for my mother to take me to school. It was really hard. And what she had to do is to take me in 2 different families so that they can raise and support my education. So I went to about 5 families so that they can support my education. And when I grew up, I promised to support the vulnerable youth and children so that in my capacity, so that they can also have better education, because in this world, education is the key. And without education, you find that the world, you face many challenges in the world. So that's how that's brought the birth of Muvistar SaveLife Youth Foundation, Uganda, in 2018. So we are located in Mityana district. That is a small district in Uganda, in a deep village called Chiwesa. So we are taking care of vulnerable children who are unable to access education, who were misplaced on the streets, because we picked these kids from the streets. We don't know how they came about to go on the streets, because there are so many challenges. And one of the challenges that forced these kids to go to streets is poverty. And another thing is losing their beloved ones, that is their parents. And they found themselves in a space where they don't have anyone to support them. So they end up going to streets. They end up, doing miserable things. So we pick these kids out of the streets, and we take care of them in our orphanage called Muvistar Orphanage Center, found in China. And as I talk right now, we are taking care of 20 kids, fully taken care of, starting from the meals, clothing, education, health care, mentorship, and all that. And we also support other kids in the community. Besides these 20 that we are fully taking care of, we also support other kids in our community, more than 50, with our education system, because without education, as I've told you, there's nothing really we can do in the world. So we make sure that these kids get scholastic materials, get school fees, because most of them lost their parents during the COVID-19, and they found themselves in a blank space. They don't have who to take care of them. So they were about to drop out of the school. So when we came in, we were like, we can support you. We can try in all our means so that you get back to school, but not dropping out of school, because that's not the solution. Dropping out of school has never been a solution. So we make sure that these kids have education, though the conditions are not favorable, because it all comes with funding and all that. But we do our best in our means with our volunteers, our Ugandan friends. They keep supporting us with scholastic, with everything. But we want to shape these kids for the future. And what are we planning to do so that these kids can have a better future? Because, we might take them to school, but in the long run, we don't know whether the funding will keep on so that we can sustain this. So what we are planning, or what we are proposing, we would like to provide these kids with some skills, because a skilled youth and unskilled youth, they're totally different when they go out in the world to face the world. A skilled youth, you will find that he or she is able to attack the world. But this one, unskilled one, you may find that the world will attack her or him, not him attacking the world. So we are planning to provide these kids with skills, basically in ICT, because we are now living in a modern world, in a digital world, and in a computer world. So everything is digital. So we are assuming if these kids acquire skills in ICT, they acquire skills in tailoring, they acquire skills in welding, they acquire skills in carpentry, you may find that they will not go looking for jobs, but they'll make sure that they start up the jobs, not looking the jobs, because after all, these kids have to have a a bright future. And what is the future? The future, they must have something that they can earn from. And having skills, that's the most important thing. So if at all we can get support from ECW and GCF, we will be appreciative, we will be humbled. Thank you so much. Because of time, I've seen my time is up. Thank you so much, Mr. Hector. I really appreciate you because this is so amazing, mostly to youth and children of Uganda. If at all we are in hands together. Thank you so much. May God bless you.
Thanks a lot, Victor, and thanks for the great work that you're doing also. Okay, so now we've heard a lot. There's one last presentation, but I can't seem to find Sian in the participants list. So Sian, if you are present in the room from the Commonwealth Children and Youth Disability Network, please send a message and we'll come back to your presentation. But right now we're going to go to a very quick activity so we get also everyone else in the room to participate. So we're going to move on to ask everyone here some questions. So we're going to do a very quick brainstorming session, and then we'll conclude with one last moment where we're going to explain to you a little bit more about what the youth is already doing in ECW and how you can engage in the future with us. So right now, if everyone can take their mobile phones or a tablet or any device that you have to scan this, we're going to then use this tool called a Mentimeter to gather some opinions on different questions and things we're wondering about. So please, everyone, we're going to also, you can also access through menti.com. I think there's a code that people should have then, if we can share that in the chat. Okay, yes, there it is. So you can also go to menti.com and you use the code that is in the chat, 54890776. So I'm going to give everyone just a little bit of time, 30 more seconds. If everyone is ready. Do we need the QR code a couple of one last time, maybe? Okay, there you have the QR code. Going to count down from 15. In my head, I won't count out loud, so it's not annoying for everyone. Okay. Good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through a set of questions, and you're going to see on the screen, hopefully if we manage to get all the IT right, your opinions coming up. All right? So first question, there it is. What kind of campaign content catches your eye? What do you like to see in a campaign? We already can present it to us 3 campaigns that ECW has at the moment. There's one that is coming up. So what is most important for you for these campaigns to have? We see here that interactive comes as a clear winner. So you don't just want to share and look at stuff. You want to engage in some way with the campaigns, right? Impactful, video, what kind of campaign? There's also here, I see one Latin America. So if it's from Latin America, you like that? Okay. Very good, 43 responses. Okay, you can also do it on the chat, like if I need just do it, if you couldn't access the Mentimeter. Okay, but there we see it. Something that is impactful. It's not a surprise related to education. And then we also have videos apparently are more preferred than photos, but what I would take here is the interactive part, which I think can guide how we keep on working on campaigns. Good. So we have 56 responses there, 57 responses. This is very good feedback for us. Now we'll move forward then to the next question. A bit of overlap, but let's see, what areas or themes are you most interested in when we talk about advocacy campaigns? Remember, here we're talking about education in emergencies and protracted crisis, but within that, is there something that is more important for your organization or for your advocacy currently? Maybe it can be mental health or resilient green classrooms, like was mentioned. If there's something very specific, this is the time to share it. Refugees is coming at the top for the moment. Disability, youth empowerment. Good. It seems like refugees is a clear priority here. In the subgroup, I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but we do have some refugee-led organizations in this subgroup within ECW. So maybe some of you are here with us today, and that's why you are also sending this as a priority in this exercise. But we also see girl child education, Afghan girls, disability inclusion also comes quite at the top, and youth empowerment. Okay, we have 36 responses, 39. We had 50 in the previous one, so I'll just give you guys a little bit more of time. Maybe if we can hit 45, we move forward. 40 responses. Okay. I see that we also have in the chat skill acquisition and climate change as an area or theme to focus on. Okay. But there we have it then. Seems like climate change and refugee are two topics that come at as a priority for this group. So now we're going to go to the next one. And here we go. Where do you like to get your news or updates? And here it's two things. One is the communication we have in the subgroup. Once again, you'll learn more about that in a bit. But it's also just the way that ECW is communicating their campaigns. So if you could give us some insight, how do you communicate in your organization? What do you usually use? It is very valuable feedback for us. So let's see. Instagram is coming at the top, website, Twitter. I think here we didn't ask, but if we would see it by ages, maybe the answers would be very grouped on what people use regarding social medias. But we see that email now is at the top. Okay. I can't see how many answers we have on this slide. But I'm still going to wait a little bit more.
I think we're at about 15 from what I see.
Yeah, so it's the one on the bottom right. Yes, okay, 16. Email. Okay. Good news for everyone that is using email as a priority. Now you have the two-pager where you can subscribe to ECW's newsletter. So you can then follow up on that after this meeting and you'll be getting the information there. But let's see. We have 18 at the moment. There's a comment in the chat on LinkedIn as well. That LinkedIn is another channel. Good. Is this question very boring, or why are we losing the people from answer? We were at 50 before.
I think it's more than 19. Estefania, can you update how many people? I think that number means something else.
Yeah, so the number that we're seeing on the bottom of our screens, it's 19 people that are connected into Mentimeter. So I think that's about it. The other two questions, which it was a word cloud, we could do more than one vote. So that's why we
Okay. But then I will say we moved. I think we have one last one. Yes. So we'll go to the next one. What tools or resources from ECW will be helpful to support your work? So now you can get creative. What do you need as a youth organization to do the work that you're doing, or to do it in a better way? Let's see. More webinars. Okay. Let's see some comments there. Partnership between advocacy tools. Toolkit with direct info we can share. Okay, we have in-person events as well. I think if you scroll down, there's more answers coming. Yes. Certificates, in-person meetings. Good. Well, we received a challenge or encouragement from Yasmin earlier today to then start talking and planning for an in-person meeting for the subgroup. So we'll see. Provision of reliable Wi-Fi is in the chat as well. Monitoring and evaluation tools, more engagement with Yasmin. Social media toolkits, good. Mental health resources. Perfect. Okay, this is super useful. If you're still typing your answer, go on. This is not, we're not closing it. And then we have access to this in both the subgroup and the comms team at ECW. We will use this feedback then to further shape our work. But because of time, because we have 1 minute left, so we'll go maybe a little bit over time, but I'll just hand the floor over to Mutesi, who will then give us a presentation about her work at the HLSG.
We have one more. We have one more.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll let you continue, Hector.
Yes, I forgot about this one. Sorry. So we have a last one. New hashtag for youth. That's true, because we want to close this with establishing a hashtag for ECW's youth. So let's see. Which one do you prefer out of all these options? ECW youth, youth for ECW, youth voices for ECW, youth for ECW. I was going in order and now I lost it because they started moving around. But you can see them, so just vote for your favorite one there. Let's see. ECW Youth Power seems to be winning. Okay. ECW Youth Power. Okay. So what we're going to do, if there's a change, it seems like it's ECW Youth Power. Youth Voices for ECW is really fighting that first spot. So maybe you can let us know if there's a change in this, Estefania, but we'll move on to Mutesi's presentation and then we'll come with a challenge. This has a reason. We're doing this because we want you guys to do something at the end of the meeting. So Youth Voices for ECW is apparently the winner. If there's a change, we'll come back to that. But now we're handing the floor over to Mutesi, who is going to talk about her role in ECW very shortly before we wrap up, because we know everyone else has things to do. So Mutesi, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, hope I'm heard.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so my role in ECW as the youth representative, the high level steering group. We specifically have 2 meetings a year, and I always hold consultative meetings with our constituency of the youth and student subgroups, which I represent during the meeting. While in the meeting, I don't represent my voice as Hadija, but I represent the voices of all the students and the youth subgroups after the consultation. And then I read ahead of the HLSG meetings, and also I make a regular consultation from Hector, who is our executive committee, a member of our executive committee. So I combine the subgroup consultation plus the executive committee member, who is Hector, ideas, opinions. So when I'm in the meeting, I don't just speak as Hadija, but I represent the entire constituency, and I make sure that the youth voices are heard during the meeting. During the meeting, the youth, I also lobby for other HLSG members. We tell them, I specifically give a speech and then tell them what we are going through, what we need to improve our advocacy as youth. Our voices matters, and in Uganda, as you know, youth, I think we constitute almost 75% of the population. So we have a voice that is even powerful than those bombs, So when we put our voice into action, I believe something can be changed. And we believe that education is a right, but not a privilege. Hector, I don't know whether I should also tackle the engagement part, or I'll come in later. I don't know.
You can just say it right now, because then I'm wrapping up. We're over time.
Okay. I think I'm going to give a brief background about myself and how, I became, the high-level steering group member of of ECW. I started here in Uganda, and my studies weren't straightforward. I faced the challenge of early marriages. My dad actually wanted to marry. They wanted to marry me at an early age, but my dad stood up and provided education for me. That's why I'm here on this platform. I wouldn't be here if my dad never made that bold decision. So after when I joined university, I joined politics. I'm still a student offering a Bachelor of Journalism and Communication in my 4th year. But when I looked back where I did my high school from, this is a school deep down in the village of Chankwanzi. I went there for my A-level. But I was surprised as we could go back home for our holidays. Some of our sisters never stepped back home. Like, they could spend the 6 years at school without stepping home. That thing concerned me, and I was like, why aren't you going back home? Then the girls came to me and told me, the moment I go back home for holidays, I won't come back for the second term, because my dad is going to marry me off. That thing touched my heart, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to push into these leadership spaces. Once I'm there, I'll advocate for these girls. I recently, my tenure ended for being the youth, the national, the vice president, Uganda National Students Association. But before my tenure ending, I started up a project called Inspire Uganda, where I have traversed like the whole country, all the regions of Uganda, moving specifically in schools, advocating for the end of early marriages and teenage pregnancy. The project has really caught attention from politicians, from like everywhere. And I personally took the initiative to go in these refugee camps. I went to Nachivari refugee camps where I interacted with these girls. They actually told me that issue isn't, because most of them follow me on my social media. They were like, that problem isn't only, outside. Also in refugee camps, we are facing that problem. So if you can come and also inspire us, it will really be great. I felt I felt attached, and I was like, you know what? Now I'm looking forward to see that this project is also pushed in the refugee camp to save these girls. I believe that we can use our online platform to push for ECW campaigns, to call upon funders, to call upon donors to invest in ECW, activities, to see that it achieves its mandate. We can use online. Some of us are not online 24/7, but we can use also offline channels. We can attend these youth conferences that, engage in education in crisis, education specifically, as Kent said earlier. He's always available to attend these online platforms. You can share ECW work. You can show what we are doing. Donors will come on board. I've seen some of my brothers here in Uganda who are saying that they need funding from ECW. But I believe if we have one voice, and if we can meet up and, organize for a fundraising, fundraise for funds, call upon government actors, decision makers, and show what we are doing, I bet they can't fail to support us. Personally, in my space as a journalist, I'm still a student, but I use my social media to advocate for these refugees. Even when during my internship, I could, they could send me in the field and be like, I want to do stories concerning refugees. I go, I do those stories, I post on my media, and it pulls the attention of people who are concerned. So our voices matters, and I believe if we come and stand, we're excited, and thank you guys for creating time to attend this meeting. Yeah, over to you, Hector.
Thanks a lot, Mutesi. So very quickly, I'll go through the last part of the presentation, aiming to finish this in 2 minutes, so we only steal 10 extra minutes from your day. Like Mutesi mentioned, I'm in the executive committee of ECW, so we are under the HLSG. We meet 4 times a year, and as an ExCom member, we also get the opportunity to participate in what are called some reference groups. So we work with more specific thematic issues and give support and advice to ECW's secretariat. And in the same way as Mutesi does it, when I'm going to an executive committee meeting, we do consultations with the subgroup. And that's what I'm going to focus on right now, because that's the final and most important message of today's meeting. Some of you that are in this meeting are already part of the subgroup. So thanks a lot for joining and for being part of our constituency in ECW. But if your organization or you are not part of the subgroup yet, then we highly encourage you to take contact and join the group. This subgroup is for both youth organizations and student-led organizations, and we are within ECW's civil society constituency. So we have at the moment 130 member organizations. Organizations need to apply and be in contact with us in order to be part of the subgroup. So if you are interested in joining, please just reach out. You have my contact information in the 2-pager that has been shared. Also, maybe if I'm going to share right now my
It's
email.
in the chat, Hector.
Okay, perfect. So you also have my email in the chat, and you can send me an email there if you're interested in joining the subgroup. And what happens in the subgroup is that every 2 years, we have a democratic election to select who will be representing us in both the executive committee and the high-level steering group. So Mutesi and I, we were elected last year, and we are now going to fulfill our first year in ECW's governance structure, and then there's one more year before we go again to elections. So if you are interested in this, if you're interested also in being part of the governance in the future, join the subgroup and you'll get the opportunity to both shape our work, shape our advocacy, give your input through your representatives right now, but also in the future, you get the opportunity to yourself participate and run for elections if you're interested in getting more involved with ECW. So like I mentioned, you have the email, please contact us. And now the last thing we're going to ask from you is we have a winning hashtag, which I think is, I still don't, I was looking at my phone, but I didn't get it here. Which one won?
It is Youth for ECW.
Okay.
Youth for ECW. We took in the inputs from the chat and the poll, and that was the winner. So,
okay. So Youth for ECW, I'm going to write it here. Maybe if we can stop sharing the screen, then what we can do is, and if we take over the highlights, I think people have seen me way too much for today. So if you take me out of the spotlight, Jacob, perfect, there. So what we wanted was to encourage everyone to use Youth for ECW, tag ECW on Twitter, and just let's start using this hashtag. So if you're up for the challenge and you wanna turn on your camera, then we just stay there for a couple of seconds so people can take a snapshot and use it in their own social media.
Hector, can I say something?
Yes, Mutesi.
A request to Kent. I've seen an initiative where people are using now WhatsApp pages and they create like the organization website. Maybe you can think about it. You create a WhatsApp website for ECW.
You won't believe, Mutesi, I had a meeting on that this morning, and about a minute ago, an email came in from a colleague on how we're going to proceed with that. So we're doing exactly that. And if I could say, I really, really want to thank everyone for being on this call, and a big round of applause to Hector and to Mutesi, who represent all these youth networks with ECW, and for pulling together this call with help from Yelena on our team. It's been really wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ken. Okay. So I think we're going to wrap up here. You know the hashtag, so if anyone took a screenshot or took a picture, feel free to start using the hashtag, and we'll come back